Hi, everybody. This is Cristina from TriathlonMami, Dashstrom Coaching, and Dashstrom Run Clubs. And I help moms just like you redefine what is possible for themselves, their families, and their communities. And oftentimes, the way I do that is through helping you start a profitable children's fitness business. But I have been doing the series, The 12 Days of Nonsense, which is not to judge anybody, not for you to get all defensive, but it's basically what I have heard in 2020, the reasons why moms don't follow their dreams, don't take the initiatives that they want to take, whether that is starting a business or running a marathon, it doesn't matter. So it's just like the reasons, the excuses that we tell ourselves, the stories that we end up believing that keeps us small. And I'm just calling them out one at a time for the next 12 days. Okay. So today is day number 2. And today we're going to talk about this big old nonsense that if I do something, it's going to be really embarrassing if it doesn't work out. Now, here's a disclaimer, like nobody actually told me this on the phone. So this is kind of part of that fear of failure. Because when, I hear all this times like, well, I'm afraid that I'm not going to be successful. I'm afraid of failing. And feel of failure is a thing, right? But it's like up here and there's a lot of stuff in there. So if we unpack the fear of failure, which we'll do in these 12 days of nonsense, one of those little pulls, one of those strings that we can pull is that it's going to be embarrassing because people are going to judge me if I don't get it right or if I fail. So that's the nonsense that we're going to talk about today. And I'm calling it nonsense because, well, you'll see why. All right. So let's start by this, that I'm going to tell you why it's nonsense and also what to do about it. It's nonsense because the only people that judge you are the people that have something wrong with them. Okay. And hey, I am the first one to go and judge other people around. So I'm not saying that I don't do this, but the people that I judge, and I try not to, I'm very deliberate about it, but it still happens. Right. But the people that I would end up judging are people that reflect something about me that I feel uncomfortable with. All right. Or that's something that I am lacking. So I'm going to use an example that is not necessarily my example, but I think it'll be really clear for you. So let's say that you are walking down the street and you see this woman who has like boobs out to here and a butt out to back there, and she's got like makeup on and a wig, and she's like walking around the street like she's Marilyn Monroe. If I were secure with my body, how I feel, and the love that I have in my life, and how attractive or like if I was comfortable in my skin, I would look at this woman and be like, you go, girl, like show it off or whatever. If I weren't in that position, if there was something inside of me that was feeling less than or not equipped for that, I would look at that same woman and I would probably be like, oh my gosh, look at her with the like that, like no wonder she gets attention. Look at how much money she's put in those big boobs and that big butt, right? Same woman, but how I react to her, who is outside of the norm, doing something that might feel good for her, the way I react to her has nothing to do with her, has everything to do with me, with the observer. So imagine that this woman who is, the big boob woman pretending she's Marilyn Monroe, imagine that she is super happy doing that because it's an act. It's like something that she does. And and it makes her happy. And not only that, but it brings her money because she takes pictures with tourists. Maybe she's in New York City. I don't know what her story is. I'm making this up. But imagine if she told herself, oh, I can't go do that because what are people going to think? She wouldn't have lived in her purpose. And that's what you're doing. You're telling me by this nonsense of is like, well, I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid that what are people going to think, that it's going to be embarrassing if I try something and I don't succeed. You're basically saying that you would rather not live your dreams and not have the impact that you could have because of somebody else, not just because of what somebody else thinks, but because of somebody else's insecurity, because that's what would be judging you. So that's why I call it a nonsense, because when you really look at it, it's like you're not going to live your best life because somebody else's less than life is going to be judging you. Okay. So I can tell you this until I'm blue in the face. I mean, I can hear myself saying this until I'm blue in the face, but it doesn't necessarily make it easier because it still happens, doesn't it? It happens to me too. So what do we do about it? So first things first, we have to define success and we have to define failure. So whenever somebody says like, well, if I fail, it's going to be embarrassing, or what are people going to think? It's like, well, what is failure? Because to me, and I've worked a lot on this, so I like in my heart and my soul and every single cell of my body, the only way that I will fail at something is if I don't do it, if I don't start, or if I quit halfway through. That's it. Everything else is just, I'm learning. I'm in the process. I'm getting better. I'm getting a little better every day. I'm learning something new at every moment. So if, the only way to fail is to either not start or to quit. So imagine Thomas Edison. Like he's credited with saying, that it's not like he failed 2,000 times. It's just that he found 2,000 ways that a light bulb wouldn't work until he found the way that it did. And then like people say like it wasn't really him that discovered and he's told the idea. It doesn't matter. The point is that had him or whoever did those experiments and they failed time and time again, if they would have thought is like, well, maybe I shouldn't keep going because what are people think I'm crazy now or they're judging me, we wouldn't have had the light bulb. Or think about how many shots, this is another popular one, like how many shots Michael Jordan missed. How many game-winning shots did he miss? A ton. Can you imagine if he says like, oh, fuck it, I missed that one shot, so it must mean I suck at this. And what are people going to think? Like, they're going to think that I'm a fraud, so I might as well not do it. Or what about like Steve Jobs was fired from his own company? Like he started a company, he was fired, he started Pixar, and then he came back to his company and revolutionized all of our worlds with the iPhone. Imagine if he would have been like, oh, I'm a little afraid of what people are going to think, because if it doesn't go right, if I did Apple and then I'm going to start this new business, and if Pixar doesn't go right, what are people going to think, and what is right? So you're not going to live your dream because of what somebody else may or may not think. Doesn't make any sense. So what do you do instead, right? First thing is that you reframe this, right? You reframe what failure and success means to you. This is everything to do with the growth mindset. This is something that we teach the kids in our run clubs and our children's fitness program. And there is no such thing as failure. Failure is only if you don't start or if you quit. Everything else is learning. So if you reframe that for yourself, it's going to give you a little bit more courage to go out there and try new things. But now let's say that, you are kind of like really afraid of what other people are going to think. Two things for you. In this group, there is a live that I did not too long ago, and it's called Compare and Despair. So watch that. It's just like 10 minutes, but it's going to give you the different ways that most of us compare to others and why we despair, so that at least you have that knowledge and that understanding and that frame. And then the other thing that you can do is walk through your fear. Now, this exercise does not feel good, and I don't recommend staying there for a very long time. But if you're so concerned about what other people are going to think, or what if you fail, then just do this because it's going to help. So just sit And whatever it is that you want to do, maybe it's starting your business, or like I said, or running a marathon, or learning guitar, or whatever the hell you want to do, but you're kind of afraid of doing it because, if you get it wrong, then people are going to blah, 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 blah. So if that's where you're at, sit down and imagine that scenario. Imagine you trying it, and imagine that it just doesn't work, that you fail spectacularly, that you are never able to run that marathon, or that your business is a flop. And just sit there and imagine what that looks like and what that feels like, and live it as if it was happening at this moment. Okay. It's not fun. If you're comfortable, you're not doing it right. Like, you should feel really uncomfortable doing this, and stay there for like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes at most. But just live it, experience it, like walk through this big fear of judgment that you have. And then come out on the other side. And when you finish that process of really imagining it and feeling how crappy it feels, and like your friend is judging you, and your spouse is judging you, and I don't know who is judging you, and your kids are judging you, and like it just feels really awful. Come out on the other side and realize that you lived, that nothing happened, that even if all those people judged you, nothing really happens. So you face your fear, and then you get over it. And then you're like, you know what? If that's the worst that it's going to feel, you can handle that because you just handled it and you were fine. So it's the same thing. It's just a matter of perspective. All right. So that nonsense of, I don't want to fulfill my dreams or follow my passions or something because I'm afraid like it's going to be embarrassing if it doesn't work. It's 1,000% nonsense, because you are holding yourself back just because somebody else is insecure about their own crap. Okay. So how can I help you? And every time at the end of this nonsense class, I'm going to give you these options. First is, if you have been thinking of starting a children's fitness business and we haven't talked yet because you are afraid, or whatever blocks that you have of any of these nonsense things that we're talking about, then book a call. Whoops, let me put you the link here. Book a call and let's talk. I'm not here to convince you that this is the right thing for you to do. Totally not my gig. Like, that's not what I do. What I do is like, we will talk. And if it's what you want, and if it's viable for you, and if it's the way that you can reach your goals, then I'll help you do it. And if not, you're going to get some clarity. That's all what this call is about. Now, if you're not quite ready to start your business, but you know that there's something inside of you that you want to change, there's an area of your life that kind of baffles you, that you're like, I know better, but I just keep doing this thing over and over again. I do have a 30-day intensive program, and it's called Mind the Gap. Now, this is the thing. It costs $3.25 a day for 30 days. That's it. So it's a really low financial way to invest in yourself so that you can learn all of these things. Now, it does take effort on your part, right? You're going to get the training, but you're going to need to do it. But it will change your life. No doubts. That's the feedback that I get from the moms that are in the program right now is spectacular, and it's only getting better by the minute. So that would be the link for Mind the Gap. And finally, we do have a super contest going. And so if you comment on this thread, any ahas or insights that you had today about this live, if you have any questions, jot them in the comment. Or if there's something that you feel that is stopping you, like some kind of your own personal brand of nonsense, and you would like me to talk about it, then put it down and I'm happy to address it in our time together here. Okay. And for every comment that you put there, that will be an entry into a raffle so that you can receive for free the 30-day Mind the Gap program. All right, everybody. So thank you so much. Or to review, like, don't not do something because of somebody else's insecurity. That would be complete and total nonsense. And I know that it's hard. I know it's easier said than done, but it doesn't make it any less of a nonsense. All right. So I thank you for being here, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow morning, 11:30 Eastern, 8:30 Pacific, for another edition of the 12 Days of Nonsense. Talk soon.